So I do want to get into GeoCities. Like that's the main reason I wanted to talk to you today. Was there anything specific that inspired you about to create GeoCities? And maybe like what was the original vision or goal you had for GeoCities?
Well, it started, there was just an intense curiosity about this thing, you know, Tim Berners-Lee created called the web, and I downloaded Windows 32-bit extensions to my computer, and I got there was a high-speed data line called ISDN. I got an ISDN line, and finally I could connect. It was amazing. And so, to see hypertext links, we take so much for granted now, but to really see what a hypertext link could do and then go from there to there to there. So anyway, I was fascinated by it. And then I was also fascinated by very early webcams, which I'm sure you could read about. And there was a fish cam, there was a coffee pot cam, and I wanted one of these. So I thought, let's create some presence with a camera at the corner of Hollywood and Vine. I had a friend who had a graphic design office at that famous corner in Hollywood, and John Resner and I said, John, I want to do this. There's nobody called it a webcam. I wanted to do this video camera thing. You couldn't buy them, you had to make them. So I had an old VCR camcorder, and we bought a SunSpark station with a graphics card. And I asked John, okay, here's the output from the camcorder. Can solder the output to the graphics card and then create an interface? So that's what we did. And lo and behold, you could see, an image of the corner of Hollywood and Vine that would refresh every 8 seconds. So I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I did it for uh, started right on traffic, and we were all we were hosting, early web hosting, banks, etc., just initial web presence, but it wasn't so exciting to me. And then we had this webcam, and um, I was trying to figure out a way to not monetize. I was trying to figure out a way to take advantage of the traffic. And I was coming back from a early conference trade show, and I thought, well, let's just give away web pages. And I've got these webcams, and these webcams are about specific places like Hollywood. We only had one. So let's give away web pages, but let's organize them around these themes of these places, like where the webcam is. So I thought, well, let's just do that. And so I told John that's what I wanted to do. And then I wrote all the initial HTML for the site, and I had to write different HTML for AOL, Prodigy, and CompuServe. And we picked neighborhoods initially where we wanted to have webcams. And then we had a webcam in our office right on the corner window in Beverly Hills. So I thought, well, let's have a Rodeo Drive neighborhood. And then we built the interface for people to create web pages. And I sent an email to about, like, I don't know, 6 or 10 people. I say, hey, try this out. And people started creating web pages around themes. That was the real key, is that these communities were organized thematically. They just wasn't random. And so that's that's exactly how it started.
So that's how the neighborhoods came to
Correct.
be. Oh,
Correct.
that's interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
that answers some of my questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, you also mentioned monetization, like you weren't, that wasn't why, but like I also was wondering, like I don't recall like ads being a big moneymaker back then, but like was GeoCities, was it primarily funded by investments or
Of
was
my
ad?
own,
Mm-hmm.
my own savings. And that's what I used. And then there were no ads on the internet. I remember seeing my very first banner ad, and I thought, well, this is new. Like, whoa. I mean, literally, uh, like a commercial, because it was a non-commercial medium for a long time.
That's
It was
right.
a government support, and was actually initially very hard to get a domain name because it was not a commercial, it was not a commercial medium. So I remember seeing the first ads and I thought, well, this is gonna, this will be one way. Uh, as long as we can build an audience, we'll figure it out, and um, there was no e-commerce yet. But we built an audience and we started to integrate advertising and e-commerce, and that's how it happened. But it was, I mean, it's really important to remember we had to do all this ourselves. There was no
Yeah.
cloud, there was no nothing. I mean, we had to build, warehouses full of servers and all the software and architecture to manage all that. And there was nothing for ad serving, there was nothing for user registration, there was nothing for nothing. And now there's so much that's application based and plug and play, but we had to build all this ourselves and hire developers. And it was a, it was just, it was all about trying to keep up with the growth, which was what was so exciting along the way.
Was that one of the biggest challenges, you think,
Oh,
keeping
for
up?
sure. Yeah. Response time, keeping up with the growth. Um, oh, for sure. And I knew that if it was slow, people would go elsewhere or they'd get frustrated. So, poor John was just like, listen, there's a problem here. People can't register. It's too slow. Um, that was a huge problem, actually. And not problem, but it just challenge that we had to overcome.
So do you miss anything about the old internet that GeoCities represented, that maybe the authenticity, the community, the
I
early?
miss, I miss the optimism of it. I miss the sense that we're creating something that gives users the ability to create their own content, user control over content generation in a way that is tied to my personality and my philanthropy. I miss the, I miss the sense of let's try and use this to make the world a better place. Let's try and use this to connect with other people. But inevitably, and even in our early days, you've got folks that come in that have other motivations. But I miss those early days where you really had the sense like we're creating something so new and so exciting. Let's do the best we can.
Yeah, I feel like we've lost something today with the internet, and I can't put my finger on it, but I feel like back then there was a more authentic vibe. Do you have would you change anything if you could go back back in time?
Um, I think I would change. I think I would say, let's spend a little more time. I don't know if I would, but I was naive, and in a way, naivety can really be a shield. Naivety can really protect you because if you say, okay, now I'm going to spend 2 hours about thinking about all the terrible things that could happen, maybe you wouldn't even do it anymore.
Yeah,
That's starting a business. If you thought it's so difficult and it's so unlikely that if you spend all your time thinking how, the odds are against you, you'd never even get started. So, um, no, I would absolutely go at it with the same, with the same approach I had at the time because fortunately, it occupied a really important space of its time in the continuum of communities of interest and social networks. So I think the echoes of it, we're here. Look how long ago this was.
yeah.
We're here, and so the echoes of it still resonate. We're talking about good things. We're talking about positive, and so this is a manifestation of the fact that it's still around, and the positive aspects of it are still around.